Hello and welcome back to the channel. After visiting the Château de Chambord and before visiting the Château de Chaumont the next day, we take advantage of the afternoon for a small visit to two interesting cities in the Loire Valley.
And if you like our video, do not forget to like it, subscribe and activate notifications so that you know when we upload a new video.
We finish our visit to the impressive Château de Chambord, and since we are not visiting the Château de Chaumont until the following morning, we take advantage of the afternoon for a relaxed visit to two cities south of the Loire River, Montrichard and Loches. On our way, we find interesting towns like Pont-l'Avoie, where, if you have time, you can visit its abbey, now converted into a school, to which you will have to go to book a private visit. After a journey with rain, a clearer afternoon welcomes us in Montrichard, situated on the banks of the Cher River, at the crossroads of two ancient Roman roads. From the parking lot, we begin our visit to the city, and we find the Hôtel de Fiat, built in the 15th century as a courthouse. In the 17th century, the Marquis de Fiat converted it into a seigneurial residence, making its interior more comfortable but preserving the exterior structure. After the French Revolution, it was divided and had several uses, including that of an inn or tavern, until its classification in 1930 as a historical monument. And as a curiosity, in its backyard, you will find an impressive tree called Ginkgo biloba. From the Hôtel de Fiat, we head to the fortress and its great keep, built in the 11th century, with impressive views of the Cher River Valley, which we could not admire as we arrived outside visiting hours. Next to the castle, we find the Église Sainte-Croix, the former chapel of the castle, built in the 11th century, expanded between the 12th and 15th centuries in Romanesque and Gothic styles, and looted and severely damaged during the French Wars of Religion, being later rebuilt. During the French Revolution, it was closed for worship, converted to a so-called Temple of Reason, falling into a ruinous state until the 19th century when it was restored, with the porch, the bell tower, and the beautiful interior stained glass windows dating from this period. We descend again to the historic center, to the Rue Nationale, the main street of Montrichard, where we find some beautiful half-timbered houses built in the second half of the 15th century, and which, being located behind the church bell tower, fortunately survived the collapse that the royal dwellings above the church and the neighboring houses suffered. We go down Rue du Pont to the bridge over the Cher River, built in the 12th century during the reign of the Plantagenets, featuring a small castle that defended the bridge in wartime and in peacetime was used to accommodate the guards who collected toll rights above and below the bridge, rights intended for the maintenance of the bridge. On June 19, 1940, the French blew up the central arches to slow the German advance, being subsequently rebuilt. We can enjoy a short walk along the banks of the Cher River on the Quai de la République until going back up to Rue Nationale, where we find the town hall, built in 1789, on the grounds where an old building stood, which served first as a butcher shop and then as a grain store. Next to the town hall, we find the Old Synagogue, a testament to the Jewish presence in the 11th century until their expulsion from the area in the 14th century. And as is another custom, and before finishing the visit to Montrichard, we get lost in the streets of this beautiful medieval city. finished our visit to Montrichard, we crossed the bridge over the Cher River to head to Loches, which is only half an hour from Montrichard. And if you make this journey, on the way, if you have time, you can visit the Château de Montpoupon, an old medieval fortress from the 15th century, which was transformed into a castle, with a beautiful interior and where you can take a walk in its private forest. And we arrive at Loches, a city of 1,000 years and whose silhouette is dominated by the royal city. From the parking lot, we cross the bridge over the Indre River and arrive at the Porte des Cordeliers, built in 1498, and which is the most recent of the 4 gates that protected the city wall, owing its name to a former nearby convent. Through this gate, we enter the historic center, beginning to walk along the Grande Rue, and on the parallel Rue Saint-Antoine, we find the Tour Saint-Antoine, built in the 16th century, which is the bell tower of a church that no longer exists and used as a bell tower for the town hall during the French Revolution, rivaling with its 52 meters in height with the royal residence. Continuing along the Grande Rue, in the Town Hall Square, we find the Porte Picot, built in the 15th century, and which is one of the 2 defensive gates of the lower city that still remain today. Next to the gate, we find the Town Hall, built in Renaissance style in 1519, and has maintained its functions since its construction. We continue ascending along the Rue de Château, where we find the Chancellery, built in 1557, with an exceptional Renaissance facade inspired by the works of Michelangelo. Here is the Center for Architecture and Heritage that allows you to understand the history of Loches over time, and the interior court is a space where you can sit and rest for a moment before continuing your visit to the city. We continue along the Rue de Château, and we can now better observe the fortress walls, whose main entrance is the Royal Gate, built at the end of the 12th or beginning of the 13th century, replacing a first, more basic gate from the 11th century, being restructured in the 15th century with the advent of gunpowder artillery and transformed in the 16th century into a prison. We cross the Royal Gate, and on Rue Lanzière, we find the Lanzière Museum, where in the 19th century lived the landscape painter Emmanuel Lanzière, and dedicated to the work and large artistic collection of the painter. Very close, following the street, we arrive at the Église Sainte-Ours, a beautiful Romanesque-style construction from the 11th century, and which originally was the Collegiate of Notre Dame, built to house a religious relic, the Virgin's Belt, becoming a parish church during the French Revolution. Its architecture includes 2 exceptional elements: a polychrome portal sculpted with characters and fantastic animals, characteristic of the Romanesque bestiary, and 2 hollow octagonal pyramids that cover the nave, constituting a unique feature in France. Here we also find a beautifully carved alabaster tomb, which contains the remains of Agnes Sorrow, the official favorite of King Charles VII. Next to the church, we find the Jardin Saint-Louis, where you will find a restaurant with a terrace from which you will enjoy a beautiful panoramic view. We continue our visit with a beautiful tree-linded walk that leads us to the castle, built in the year 1000 and with an impressive 36-meter-high Romanesque tower, which, in addition to its military functions, was used as a dungeon, being one of the oldest preserved in Europe. Among the prisoners who have been held here is Ludovico Sforza, Duke of Milan, who painted several murals during his imprisonment. Inside the fortress, we also planned to visit the Logis Royal, the royal residence, but it was closed. It is built on the tip of a rocky spur dominating the Indre River Valley, built between the end of the 14th and the end of the 15th centuries, and was one of the favorite residences of the Valois during the 100 Years' War. In the corridors of this royal residence, the amorous encounters of King Charles VII with his favorite Agnes Sorel took place, and also here Joan of Arc came to meet with Charles VII to convince him to challenge the English to go and be crowned in Reims. We finish our visit where we started, at the Porte des Cordeliers, but if you want to enjoy the city of Loches a little more, you can take a walk in the public garden. Located on the banks of the Indre River, it was inaugurated in 1909 and is a place to walk and relax, offering one of the most beautiful panoramas of the citadel and a good place to end the visit to Loches.